Good morning, everyone. I'm Robert Summercrast, Dean of the Terry College of Business at the University of Georgia, and I want to welcome all of you to this month's edition of Terry Third Thursday. And I want to say, how many of you were at our gala on the weekend? Well, it was just a fantastic event that our alumni board put on for us. An opportunity to recognize some of our most distinguished alumni, Bill Douglas, who will be a speaker in the upcoming months, Andy Gertner, that I'm sure many of you know from his real estate work in Atlanta, and Miley's Wen, who is one of our young alumni who lives up in New York and has done a terrific job with her career. So I just want to extend my thanks to all the alumni who made that event possible. Some of you are new to Terry Third Thursday. I know I spoke with at least a couple of you who are here for the first time. This is what we call the TEAC, the Terry Executive Education Center. And this is our outreach to, our place to outreach to alumni through events like this breakfast speaker series, Terry Third Thursday. This is a way that we're in Atlanta with educational programs like our Executive MBA and various non-credit custom and open enrollment programs. And so this has been a really important part of the Terry College to be here in Atlanta. I want to recognize some of our sponsors who really make this event possible. You can see our main corporate sponsor is Bank of North Georgia. We also have Atlanta Business Chronicle and WABE as sponsors for us, Public Broadcasting Atlanta. Without sponsors like that, we couldn't make this program come off each month. So can I get you, sponsor organizations, could you raise your hands so we can recognize you? Now there are a couple of guests here with us today that I want to recognize. If you're a frequent attendee at Terry Third Thursday, you know that there is an innovative program that the Terry College has started just within the past year or two, called Deer Run Fellows. It's done in partnership with Doug Ivester, the former CEO of Coca-Cola. It's a semester-long course that ends with a weekend at Doug's plantation in South Georgia, where he brings in business leaders and other people to have small group interaction with these students. It is a very selective program. We typically will have about 100 nominations, which a selection committee will go down to just a group of 8 students to be in the program each semester. We've got 2 of them with us today, Ellie Himpson and Matthew Van Asten. And can I ask you 2 students to stand? So thanks for being here. Now, I asked the Deer Run Fellows to come to Terry Third Thursday so they can get a sense of what the Atlanta alumni and business communities are like. So please, if you have a moment, say hello to our students and make them feel welcome. I always like to give you a sense of what's coming up in future months. So in May, as I mentioned a minute ago, Bill Douglas, Executive Vice President with Coca-Cola Enterprises and CFO of that organization, will be our speaker. That's on May 19th. He is going to be talking about smaller is better, and giving you some examples of changes that they've made at Coca-Cola Enterprises. In June, we switched to sports again. We have UGA's athletic director, Greg McGarity, as our speaker, and he's now a year into his job as our chief executive bulldog and can give you some sense of what's going on with athletics at the university. And then in July, we have Dink Neesmith, president of Community Newspapers Incorporated, and he's going to talk about building the state of Georgia's identity. So he's going to give us some ideas of how he thinks we can become a dominant global brand. So I hope you're here with us for those and future speakers. So without further ado, I want to ask, actually I'm not going to introduce our speaker. I'm going to ask that Palmer Sanford introduce our speaker. Palmer is a member of our alumni board. He has been very active with us with our young alumni board and getting some younger alumni to be involved with us at the Terry College. And so Palmer, can I ask you to come up and introduce our speaker, please?
Thank you. Appreciate it, Dean Summercrest. Well, I'm happy to be here this morning and to introduce Gary Stokan to you. Gary is best known as the president and CEO of the Chick-fil-A Bowl, which people in Atlanta are aware is one of the highest attended college bowl games of the year. Its bowl season matchup between the ACC and the SEC has sold out the Georgia Dome for 14 straight years. But in the future, Gary may become better known as the man who led the effort to bring the College Football Hall of Fame to Atlanta. Gary is president of the Atlanta Hall Management, Inc. That is the organization that was created to build and manage the proposed Hall of Fame. It's for this reason that Gary and others have taken to calling Atlanta the college football capital of the world. Gary has 32 years of corporate management experience. Among the many events that have his imprint are the Chick-fil-A kickoff game, which this year will feature Georgia and Boise State, and I imagine many of you will be at that game. The Chick-fil-A Bowl Challenge charity golf tournament, which provides $500,000 for scholarship and charity to its participating universities, and the Atlanta Sports Awards that celebrates the success of Atlanta sports. During the 13 years that Gary has been president of the Chick-fil-A Bowl, he also held the title and served as the role of president of the Atlanta Sports Council. He is now the Sports Council's past president, but Gary had a major hand in attracting many major sporting events to Atlanta, from the Super Bowl to the Final Four to the NBA All-Star Game. I'll close with a few numbers that any business school graduate could surely appreciate. Over his 13 years with the Atlanta Sports Council, the ASC helped generate $1.8 billion in economic impact and $73 million in direct tax revenues for the city of Atlanta and the state of Georgia. Gary is here to talk about the next big sports attraction to come to Atlanta and the impact it will have when the National Football Foundation opens its new College Football Hall of Fame in a $50 million facility near Centennial Olympic Park. Gary, we're excited to have you here. Please join me in welcoming Gary Stokan.
Let's hear it for Palmer. He's going to be a new father in a month of a new daughter. Palmer, way to go. I also want to express my appreciation to Palmer and the University of Georgia. I'm not a Georgia graduate, although I feel I've got some investment over there, with my daughter being a double major over there. I can't say I put a lot of money in because she took after her mother and got a Hope Scholarship for all 4 years. So. Good for her. And I would have had her here today, but I thought this was just graduates of the Terry School of Business, so I apologize. She's not here. My other daughter went to University of Tennessee, which I'm proud of her as well. They both broke my heart. I'm an NC State guy, an ACC guy, so it broke my heart. They both went to SEC schools. No, I'm only kidding. And talking about ACC, somebody's back there that's probably going to throw a tomato at me, but Charlie Battle is a good friend from North Carolina. He's here today, so thanks, Charlie, for being here. Mark Sloniker, who was a great coach and player at Georgia, is a good friend, so Mark, thanks for being here. And Mike Ottweiler, who handles all of our insurance at the Bowl and the Hall of Fame. So, Mike, thanks for being here. I did want to not only start the meeting with having some fun, which I like to do, but how many people worked out this morning? All right. So I'm an old coach, and as Mark will tell you, we gotta be prepared. We got to know who's on our team, what roles you can play, and how we can succeed. So what I'd like to do is everybody push back from the table. We're gonna have a little workout here. All right. Can everybody see me? Okay. All right, every time my hands pass one another, I want a hard, sharp clap, all right? I want to wake people up in the rest of the building. Not a little clap like this. We got to be intense. We got to be aggressive. We got to be passionate, right? I love passion, right? So here we go. Ready? Are we ready?
Yeah.
Are we ready?
Ready.
Okay. Everybody standing there like this. We're playing sports. We got to bend our knees, right? So bend your knees. Get ready to play. Here we go. Ready? Every time they pass. Okay. That's all right. I like your aggressiveness. That's good. But you missed this time. You got to sit down. right? So you got to pay attention. Ready? Here we go. Oh, come on. Now you guys got slow on me. Here we go. Don't forget the one on the way back. I told Palmer I'd get him a standing ovation before I spoke. That's important to me, to have fun. Everybody's smiling. You know, there's 4 things you got to do every day. Every day. Jimmy Valvano was a great friend, and I added one of the things to what he said. And we use this theme when we have our bowl game, and that's to live, laugh, learn, and I've added another one, love. You know, you got to do all 4 of those things every day. If you don't, you're not living life. You got to live. God doesn't promise you another second, another minute, another hour, another day. So you better live it right now. You know, don't get so caught up in business that you forget about having a baby. Don't forget about your friends, okay? So you got to live. You got to laugh, and more importantly, you got to laugh at yourself. That's probably the most important thing you can do in life, because I tell you what, if you don't laugh at yourself, you drive yourself nuts, because this world's a crazy world. You got to learn. I try and read at least a magazine or a book a week, just, you know, to get the brain working a little bit. And what it does, I found, is it helps me be more creative, because I can grasp what other people are trying to do, what they're trying to say, and it's not all about sports. It's outside of sports. So it gets my brain going every day. And love, I mean, you got to love your friends, you got to love your wife, you got to love your family. That's one of the great things God gives us, is the ability to love. So anyway, those 4 things you got to do every day. Let's talk a little bit about business. The College Football Hall of Fame is going to be a wonderful asset to this city. It'll create jobs. It'll be an economic impact factor. It'll provide a quality of life. So to give you a little bit of a feel as to what we're going to build here, we're building an attraction that uses the content of college football. We're not building a museum. We built a museum, we failed. We'll have a Hall of Fame in it, but it's not going to be a Hall of Fame of busts. You know, I've done a lot of research going to a lot of Hall of Fames and a lot of, from Country Music Hall of Fame to the Grammys, etc. And, you know, I went into Nashville. They got a great facility. If you're ever there, go to the Country Music Hall of Fame. It's a wonderful facility. But they have a Hall of Fame that is a wooden edifice that, I'm Catholic and Christian. I went in, I wanted to kneel down and say some prayers. And I'm saying, wait, we're in the Music Hall of Fame. You know, there's a bust of Hank Williams, and there's a bust of Elvis Presley. I mean, music is about motion and emotion. Well, sports is as well. So instead of doing busts that are inanimate objects that you just walk by and, okay, I want to see Elvis Presley sing and move. I want to hear Hank Williams, right? So same thing with college football. What you'll see in here is we're going to have 6-foot, basically, football cards that, let's say it's Herschel Walker, who's a good friend. Herschel's going to walk up to you, and you're going to push a button. You're going to see Herschel's 5 best plays, and you're going to see Herschel's statistics, and you're going to interact with Herschel, right? That's what we're going to bring to life. Hopefully it conveys itself in this video, and if we can, show the video here. We've got about a 3-minute video that we'll show, and then I'll come back and speak, okay?
There has never been a greater game than college football. Now, proudly joining the core group of attractions around Atlanta's Centennial Olympic Park, including the Georgia Aquarium and the World of Coca-Cola, and adjacent to the Georgia World Congress Center, CNN Center, and Georgia Dome. The new College Football Hall of Fame will open its doors in 2013 and serve as America's shrine to that great game. From the moment you enter the hall, you're back on campus, ready to celebrate everything that makes our sport so special. Starting with the tunnel entrance, you'll feel like a player taking the field before the big game. You'll be immersed in the world of college football with a chance to walk the field, interact with fans, and transport yourself inside the game we love. Overwhelming sights and sounds will surround you in the game's traditions, recreating the game day experience in every possible detail. With live broadcasts of the biggest games and real-time scores and highlights, visitors will live the game day experience surrounded by the spirit of college football. Using interactive state-of-the-art technology, the Hall will offer an entirely new way to connect with your favorite college football team. From the Game Day Theater, which will provide an on-the-field 3D experience, to exhibits focused on the fans, players, and coaches, the Hall will bring you closer to the game than ever. Continually updated photos, videos, and stats will bring exhibits to life, educating, entertaining, and engaging visitors as we celebrate the past, present, and future of college football. From its greatest players and coaches, to its most hallowed and heartwarming traditions, to the pageantry that makes the sport unique, the Hall will let you experience college football like never before. Visitors will have an opportunity to meet and interact with some of the legends of the game, providing a truly unforgettable experience. In addition to giving visitors the most entertaining and interactive attraction in the world of sports, the Hall will be one of the city's most sought-after event venues. With a one-of-a-kind view of downtown Atlanta and Centennial Olympic Park, the Hall will provide an ideal location for special events, receptions, and meetings. Standing like a beacon in the heart of downtown Atlanta, the Hall will be the crown jewel of the city's sports, convention, and museum district. As college football fans, you are invited to join us in the excitement, the anticipation, and the promise of this great game. We look forward to the spring of 2013 when we open the doors on the new College Football Hall of Fame in the heartbeat of college football, Atlanta.
All right, what do you think? When we deliver that, it'll be a unique experience that people all over the country will be able to not only appreciate Atlanta, but appreciate college football a little bit more. So that's what we're endeavoring to do. Palmer mentioned about speaking about Atlanta as the capital of college football. And I'd like to give you about 9 or 10 reasons why. Obviously, this nobody else in the country will have, and really elevates us to the pinnacle where we can start talking about Atlanta as the college football capital of the world. Did you know that 4 of the top 10 conventions in this city are college football events? Number 3, Chick-fil-A Bowl, and this is on an annual basis. This is not a Final Four once every 8 years or whatever. This is annually. Number 3, Chick-fil-A Bowl. Number 4, Chick-fil-A Kickoff Game. Number 5, SEC Championship Game. Number 8, Bank of America Football Classic. The bowl is the number 1 bowl out of all bowls, including the BCS, in charitable and scholarship donation. We give back $1.25 million on an annual basis back to this community that could go into our reserves, could go into our profits. But we think it's important to give back to the people like the Mike Ottweilers who have bought tickets to keep this game alive. Back in 1985, thanks to Dick Bestwick, who was an administrator at Georgia, wonderful guy. Keep him in your prayers. He's suffering a little bit with TM. But, you know, he went to the chamber, and Mr. Allen, the CEO of Delta at the time, and he said, you know, this bowl is going to fall apart. It's going to go bankrupt unless the business community gets behind it and starts to sell tickets and sponsors. And so Mr. Allen wrote first $100,000 check from Delta and really got the thing going. And now we're blessed 14 years later to have sold 14 sellouts, which only the Rose Bowl has sold out more continuous times than the Chick-fil-A Bowl. 270,000 fans attend college football events in Atlanta. That's 38% of the top 10 convention attendance every year in this city. So football, certainly. $125 million of economic impact and $5.2 million in state sales tax on an annual basis comes through the city of Atlanta through football. Obviously, our tradition. And when you talk about college football tradition, I mean, you talk about Georgia, you talk about Georgia Tech. Both have won national championships. Both continually are at the top of the ACC and the SEC You know, obviously the SEC being the toughest football conference in the country. The growth of the game. When you look at Georgia State just coming on board, Kennesaw State is starting a football program. I sat with Coach Dooley, who chaired that, and we did the research to get Georgia State started in college football. And then Mercer's starting a college football program. So the growth of the game. You read around the country, there are people that are cutting, you know, Cal was going to cut baseball and, you know, swimming and a lot of other sports. You know, these people in Georgia, they're starting football programs, which when you start a football program, as I've learned in the research, not only do you have to increase your money that you put to college football and all that you have to have facility-wise, but because of Title IX, you have to increase your investment in women's sports as well. So there's a big trickle-down effect to that. Number 4, corporate support. I challenge you to turn on a game on a Saturday and not see the headquartered companies of Atlanta be the underpinning of the advertisement in college football. Whether it's Coca-Cola, Aflac, Chick-fil-A, Home Depot, AT&T, and then when you talk about the people that broadcast it, from Fox Sports South to Turner with Peachtree TV that does the SEC game every week. We also have Comcast, who now is not only involved, but they're going to be further involved now that they have a partnership with NBC in college football. And then lastly, CLC, which is now IMG, started the business of licensing football and other licensed products in college sports. So we have a real corporate support for college football in this city, unlike any other city in the country. Recruiting. I'll bet you didn't know that the #1 state per capita in recruiting is the state of Georgia. There are more kids that matriculate on college football scholarships in Division I from Georgia, per capita-wise, than any other state in the country. There are more kids from Georgia. We had 172 kids last year sign Division I scholarships. There are more kids from Georgia on SEC rosters than from the state of Florida. And the state of Florida had 335 kids sign Division I scholarships. Now, we're blessed in that we only have 2 schools here, Georgia and Georgia Tech. You know, Florida's got Miami, Florida, Florida State, South Florida, Central Florida, FIU, FAU. They got 7 schools sharing those kids, and everybody goes to Florida to get kids. But you talk to coaches, the kids from Georgia, they get their grades, they keep their grades, and they play football 24/7. So we're #1 per capita in the country, and it's proven. Texas is #1, California is #2 overall, Florida's #3 overall, we're #4 overall, but per capita we're #1 in the country. Pro players. The number of pro players that are playing in the NFL right now, we're the 5th largest state in producing pro players. And Georgia is one of the smaller states out of those top 5. I think it's the smallest. So, number 7, we have the preeminent Coach of the Year award in the country, the Bobby Dodd Coach of the Year award. We're blessed to partner and sponsor that. I hate the word sponsor. I believe in partnerships and relationship. But we were up with Chris Peterson of Boise State, who won the Bobby Dodd for last year. And, you know, just a wonderful, it's amazing to hear coaches talk about Bobby Dodd still. Jim Tressel, when he gave the award to him 3 years ago, he pulled Bobby Dodd's book off his shelf in his office and said, the first book I read when my dad, who was a coach, told me, if you're getting in coaching, this is the book you have to read. So it's our job to keep the Bobby Dodd name alive. I know he's a Georgia Tech guy and a Tennessee guy, but he had a lot to do. He's one of only 3 people in the Hall of Fame as both a player and a coach. So we've got to keep that alive. Number 8, we will host the College Football Hall of Fame enshrinement ceremonies. So all the Hall of Famers from now on, when we open this hall, will come through Atlanta and be enshrined here in Atlanta in the Hall of Fame. And obviously, number 9, the College Football Hall of Fame. Just some facts and figures on that. In construction, which we lost 25,000 construction jobs in this state last year, we will create 884 jobs. Now, here's a little nonprofit, you know, that's going to create 884 jobs during construction. When we begin operations in 2013, we will sustain 514 jobs. Our overall economic impact during construction will be $90.4 million. and during the first 5 years, $212 million of economic impact. State sales tax for Georgia during construction will be $4.9 million and $7.9 million in the first 5 years of operation. And Atlanta will benefit with $1.8 million during construction and $2.4 million over the first 5 years of construction. And there will be, according to AECOM, which is the leader in really ascertaining what kind of traffic goes through museums and facilities like this. They did the aquarium and the World of Coke studies. They're world-renowned. They said in our first sustained year, which will be year 3 of our operations, we'll do 500,000 people will go through this facility on an annual basis. I personally think that's conservative, but that's how we built our performance, very conservatively. So there will be 2.5 million people over the first 5 years go through this facility. Hopefully a lot of them are sitting in this crowd. So that's kind of, you know, the underpinning, and this is the first opportunity I've had to really profess and structure that kind of debate and argument about Atlanta being the college football capital of the world. So hopefully you will be ambassadors of that. Hopefully you will profess that, and we'll continue in speeches and in media and PR, continue to support that as we get closer to opening the College Football Hall of Fame. I thought there was going to be a lot of young people in here, and there are. I'm a little older. I'm 56. But as my dad told me at 97 when he passed away, he says, you know, age is just a number. You know, live your life and, you know, don't worry about the number. I just wanted to profess a little bit of some of my business philosophies. Not to say I'm any great shakes, but for some of the young people here, I think it may be important. And thank God my daughters aren't here, because they'd be laughing and probably throwing tomatoes at me right now, because they've heard it too many times. But being an old coach, I like acronyms, and I like philosophies, and I like sayings. You know, I think everybody should have these 4 philosophies. One, you should have a business philosophy. If you're in business, you know, what do you stand for? You know, when tough times get tough, you got to have something to stand behind. If you got somebody that's struggling in your business, you know, go back to your philosophy and profess it to them. You got to have a personal philosophy. What do you stand for individually? You know, religious-wise, you know, what kind of morals, ethics, values do you have? What kind of integrity do you profess? Sales philosophy. You know, I think we sell. You know, a lot of people, I'm sure there's some in here that are salesmen. You know, I'm a salesman. You know, and they think they're some different kind of, God looked at them differently and gave them something different. Sales are real easy. So I'd like to talk about sales philosophy. And then a relationship philosophy. I am a huge believer that it's all about relationships. Everything in life is about relationships. So, and Charlie Battle could get up here and speak much better than I can. He's the professor of personal relationships. But let's talk about business philosophy. Mine is team, and it stands for teamwork, empowerment, accountability, management. I'm a coach, and I've coached for 32 years, even though I haven't been on the basketball floor. I still go through a mild depression. Mark will appreciate this. On October 15th, I still go through a mild depression because I should be on a basketball floor coaching, because that's when basketball season starts. But my philosophy in business is teamwork. Team, the T for teamwork, we got to work together. Everybody's got to, you know their role, okay? I recruit the roles. So if I need a janitor, I'm going to go get the best janitor I can. I'm not going to go get the best salesman and make him a janitor, right? So T is for teamwork. We got to work together as a team. E is for empowerment. When I recruit that janitor to be the best janitor, I empower him and give him the rights to play that role to be the best janitor. You got to recruit the roles, let people understand the role, accept the role, make sure you support the role, and then you got to let them play the role. Right? You can't micromanage them. You can't look over their shoulder. If you haven't recruited the right person, then that's on you. It's not on them. Bobby Dodd said that. If the kid can't play that I recruited, I'm not going to run you off. Those guys used to bring in recruiting classes. They talk about gray shirting now of 28 kids. Bear Bryant brought in 150 kids his first class at Alabama. And those that couldn't play, he ran them off. Bobby Dodd, whenever he recruited a kid, if you couldn't play, if you weren't good enough, someone was better than you, he kept you on full scholarship for 4 years. Because that was on him. It wasn't on the player. He either didn't coach you up or he didn't recruit you right. So recruiting's awfully important. So recruit to a role. But sit down with that person, make sure they understand the role, they accept the role, they have the ability to play that role, and then you let them play the role. Now, once I empower you, if I empower the point guard to get the ball up the floor, call defenses, knock free throws in, he's accountable to the rest of the team to do that. He didn't get the ball up the floor, we're in trouble. We can't start an offense, right? So with empowerment, E, empowerment, comes A, accountability. You got to make people accountable. You know, we're losing that in this society. You know, we're dumbing down our society. Everything's acceptable, right? We got to rise up. You know, I don't know if you've ever read the book by Tom Brokaw, The Greatest Generation. If you haven't, go get it. You know, my dad worked till he was 82 years old, died at 97. My mom worked in an old folks home till she was 75, lifting people, you know, in an old folks home at 75. The work ethic of that generation is what we're missing right now. The sacrifice is what we're missing right now. Nobody wants to sacrifice everything. Everybody thinks they're entitled. You know, you talk to a lot of coaches now, and they'll tell you that. Well, we had a good year last year. Why'd you have a bad year this year? Kids thought they were entitled. They just thought they'd go out on the field or floor or whatever and just win because we had better talent. We had won last year. It's about sacrifice. It's about setting big goals, going to achieve those goals, and how you get there. So teamwork, T, we work as a team. E, empowerment, we recruit the roles and empower the people. A, accountability, we make them accountable to the rest of the team. And M, manage, that's the way we manage the process. So teamwork, empowerment, accountability, management is my business philosophy. Personal philosophy. Mine is maps. How do you know where you're going to get to or where you're going without maps? You don't. You just go day to day. Okay, I had a good day at work today. I had a bad day at work today. All right, my belief is maps is mental. You got to mentally challenge yourself. All right, that's M. A, attitude. You got to have a great attitude. When your feet hit the floor, it's a great day because you know what? You're breathing. So you got to have a great attitude because I tell you, a lot of things during that day are going to challenge your attitude. You have a bad attitude, you're going to have a bad day. You wake up with a good attitude, you got a chance of being successful. So M is mental, A is attitude. Physical. I haven't done a very good job with this, but you got to physically stay in shape, right? So you got to mentally be in shape, you got to attitudinally be in shape, physically you got to be in shape. You know, you let yourself go, you know, you're going to miss work, you're not going to be able to achieve things, you're not going to be able to do things to enjoy life, so you got to be physically fit. And lastly is spiritual. So MAPS is mental, attitude, physical, spiritual. You got to challenge yourself in each of those four categories if you want to get somewhere, right? So that's my personal philosophy. Sales philosophy, it's very easy. And I've been in sales all my life. People want to buy from people they like. Think about it. Who they consider friends, who they trust, who provide them a service, and is going to help them do their business. It's pretty easy. You know, you talk to some salesman, oh man, I got this unique way of selling, and sales is pretty easy. You build a relationship like Charlie Battle's done, you know, to get the Olympics here. I mean, that's one of the most unbelievable sales jobs in the world ever, for what he and Billy Payne and Andy Young and the rest, Charlie Schaffer and the rest of the team did. So people want to buy from people they like, who they consider friends, who they trust, who provide them a service, and who they know is going to deliver. To me, the second sale is always the toughest sell. I can sell anybody anything one time. I can sell you anything. But the second sale, the repeat sale, is the toughest sale because now that person sitting across from you who you think you have a relationship with, if you haven't delivered, if you haven't over-delivered and under-promised, you know, they're not going to buy from you again. So the proof is in the pudding. What have you done during that first contract to get them to repeat buy? I take great pride in that. I've had guys 25 years ago that I've done business with that, you know, call me 25 years later. That's how we started the Chick-fil-A Bowl Challenge. I did a shoe deal with Norm Nixon's agent when he was with the LA Lakers in 1982 or whatever it was. Well, 25 years later, 30 years later, he calls me and says, hey, I got this idea about a golf tournament, which is now the Chick-fil-A Bowl Challenge. So that's important in sales. And then relationship, the last philosophy I think you have to have is everything's about relationships. To me, my relationship is Acts 20:35, which Jesus said, it is more blessed to give than to receive. You got to give back. I mean, that's why our bowl gives back. Every event I've done in 32 years has always had some kind of charitable contribution to it. It may be me speaking, it may be me giving something, it may be financial, but you always got to give something back. You give something back, you're going to do business with those people a long time from now because they'll appreciate that. So those are my 4 philosophies: business, personal, sales, and relationship. I'll close with a few of my sayings that you know, when I grew up, I mean, I'm a little different. My mom laughs at me. But I had sayings all over my ceiling, all over both sides of my walls. And I would wake up to them, and I would, you know, while I'm getting dressed, I'd read this one, and that would get me fired up for the day. I love sayings and quotes. So here's a few of my favorite ones. Hopefully you can appreciate these. Enjoy the journey. You know, we're on a journey in life. You can't repeat yesterday. It's a journey. And I will tell you, getting to the mountaintop, and I'm not there yet, but I tell you what, I'm enjoying every step to get to the mountaintop. Because once you're at the mountaintop, what else is there, right? You got to go down the other side, or you get knocked off. So you better enjoy the way to get there, because that's what your life is enjoying the journey to get to the top of the mountain, whatever that mountain is for you. Attitude of gratitude. I talked about attitude earlier. You don't have a good attitude, you're in trouble. This world will beat you down. So you got to have an attitude of gratitude. Be thankful for your life, thankful for your friends, thankful for your job. Thank you for your grad colleagues here in the room. Thank you for the University of Georgia. There's so many things we have to be thankful for. So have an attitude of gratitude. A passion for passion. I love people that are passionate. I tell young people, they come up, you know, God, I love sports. I'd love to be in sports. How do you get in sports? I said, don't worry about sports. Follow your passion. My daughter went into sports after she graduated, career sports. Was there 4 years. She came to me after 4 years and said, Dad, you know, you keep telling us to follow our passion. My passion is fashion. She's now at Tory Burch over at Phipps Plaza and hopefully moving to a management position there. She loves life. She loves what she's doing. You know what? If you love what you're doing, if you're passionate about what you're doing, guess what? You're probably going to be pretty good because you like what you're doing. I don't know when my checks come. I haven't worked a day in 32 years because I follow my passion. And I don't care whether it's a garbage collector or whatever it is. If you like it, go do it because you know what? You're going to be good at it. If you're good at it, people will either pay you or you'll wind up starting a company in that. You won't know you're working ever because you're having fun because it's your passion. So follow your passion. I have a passion for passion. Good, better, best. Don't rest until your good is better and your better is the best. My team hates that because I challenge them every day. You know, how are we getting better today? If you're not getting better, you're getting worse. You know, another one of my sayings is, if you stagnate, you die. You stagnate, you're dying because people are going to get better than you and you're not improving yourself. So good, better, best. Don't rest until your good is better and your better is the best. If you're going to compete, I love to compete. Everything I do is a competition to me. If you're not competing, then you're losing. You know, I don't want to sound like Charlie Sheen, but he's doing a good enough job doing that. That which does not kill me makes me stronger. Life's hard, man. You're going to have setbacks. You're not going to get everything you want. You're not going to achieve everything you want until you have the perseverance and determination to get there. Do the right thing every time and everything you do. You know, I think that's so important. And you know what? All these things are pretty simple. There's nothing big here. It's just simple thoughts. But I don't care whether it's picking up a piece of paper as you walk out the door there, it's on the ground, to opening the door for a lady, to whatever it is. Just, it's interesting how we're built. God built us in a way that if you do things repetitively, they just become normal for you. So if you just think of doing the right thing every time, integrity-wise, you have no problem. No one's going to question your integrity. because you're going to do the right thing in everything you do, no matter what it is. Pigs get fat and hogs get slaughtered. It's okay to eat at the trough in a business deal, but if you want to be the hog and hog the whole deal, number one, you're not going to do business with that guy again because ultimately he didn't get a fair deal. And secondly, pigs get fat, you can eat at the trough, hogs get slaughtered. The hog's the one that's going to get killed and everybody's going to be eating it. Not the pig, the hog. So don't hog a deal. Even if you got to give something back, do a fair deal. Because guess what? That person will respect you. You'll do good business with them. They'll become a partner, and they'll do business with you for a long time, which is another one of my sayings. Business is a marathon, not a sprint. If you want to do a quick deal because you got to meet a certain level at your business, you can get that deal done, but you're never going to do repeat business. And you're going to hurt your integrity with that person. You're going to get a bad reputation, which is going to affect you negatively down the road with other people. So business is a marathon, not a sprint. Be in business a long time with people. Build relationships with people. It's important. I talked about if you stagnate, you die. And then lastly, you know, God gave us the gift of life. Our present back to Him is what we do with that gift. You've all been given a gift. Don't let anybody think that, you know, well, they're gifted. They've got a high IQ. Well, this guy's successful because he's this. Everybody has that potential in here. The thing that kills me, Mark will appreciate this, I hated guys that were 6'5", back when I played 6'5" was pretty big, 6'5", that didn't use their height, didn't use their potential, didn't use their God-given gifts in basketball. Because I was 5'11". I used to cry because I wasn't 6 foot, you know? But use your potential. You've been given a gift, and God gave you that gift. Now, when someone gives something to me, I feel ingratiated to them, right? So I feel ingratiated to God for giving me the opportunity. So what am I going to do to present back to Him a gift for the gift He gave me? So that's important. Lastly, I got to do a little self-promotion here because I told you I'm a salesperson, all right? And I'm not here to, you know, it's interesting. When I talked to Mark Richt and Greg McGarity about, you know, the Georgia-Boise State game, I went to the meeting, and Frank Crumley was there and Greg McGarity, and, you know, I put the contract in front of them, so they started to read the contract, and I said, you know, now I'm here only to do this once every 4 years, but this is a contract to move the Georgia-Florida game to Atlanta. Their heads popped up, and, yeah, they were astonished. What do you mean? What do you mean? I said, no, I'm just kidding. This is the Chick-fil-A kickoff game. But you got to have fun, right? And I wanted to try because if there was, being a salesman, if there was any sense that they may go that direction, I was going to hop on it. But this is the old leather helmet. This is what Georgia and Boise will be playing for at the Chick-fil-A kickoff game. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to theme it this way because as we move forward with the College Football Hall of Fame, on that first weekend of college football every year during Labor Day, we're going to have our kickoff game. We're going to do a golf tournament at East Lake for charity. We're going to do a parade. We're going to do a concert. And we're going to do the enshrinement ceremonies of the Hall of Famers. So I wanted to hearken back to, I'm traditional and nostalgic, to the old days when we opened this College Football Hall of Fame. So this is what the trophy for the Chick-fil-A kickoff game. This year, obviously, Georgia-Boise State. And Natalie, who's been so helpful. Where's Natalie? Natalie, thank you so much. Great job. And Palmer have been so nice. What I told them is, if I'm with Bulldogs, I've got to give 2 tickets to the Chick-fil-A kickoff game away because this is not an easy ticket. Georgia got 53,000 tickets for this game, and from what I understand, through their season ticket base, they're already gone. Boise got 7,500 for the game, and Boise needs more. Now, I've done 2 things. One is, you know, I've challenged people to ask them who's going to wear the old leather helmet. But secondly, I got special dispensation from the 2 conferences in the NCAA that each team is going to wear its home jerseys, because on that beautiful green field, we're not going to make it red or we're not going to make it blue. It's going to be green. You know, to have Georgia in their red home jerseys and to have Boise in their blue home jerseys, it'll look beautiful. on that field and look beautiful on TV. But I need everybody, the fans that are coming to the game, to wear red if you're from Georgia and blue from Boise, because it'll also look great on TV in the stands. So I'm challenging all the Georgia people that have tickets to wear red, and I'm challenging somebody in this audience here today that if you look under your chair, if you got the Charlie Sheen winner there, you get 2 tickets to the Chick-fil-A kickoff game. So, plus it gets you a little bit more exercise. You got to get out of your chair to look. So somebody, Natalie put this somewhere. I don't know where she put it. Maybe I should just ask Natalie to appoint who it was. You got it? All right, here's our winner over here. Now, keeping with the theme of having fun, enjoying the journey, you have to come up. Come on up. You're one of the few people that will ever get a chance to do this. You got to put this on. And this will be on YouTube, brother, so trust that. There you go. Way to go. You got a card? You get me a card? Or give me your information. I'll give you my card. You got to take that off. I know you like wearing that around.
I was looking good in it. Come on now.
There you go. All right. Hey, lastly, I do want to thank the University of Georgia. My daughter got a great education, a double major over there. She loves the Bulldogs, and she's been inspirational in this College Football Hall of Fame. She told me, Dad, she said, I would just love to get in the huddle once for one play and get on the field, hear the quarterback call the play, and go out and run that play. And so that's some of the inspiration of what we're going to do with the Hall of Fame. We're going to take you from the stands and put you on the field. You saw Herschel there. We're going to have the most unique 3D theater that is going to actually put you on the field, make you feel like Bill Bates standing there with Herschel running at you and running over you. But that's the experience. We're going to give you behind the scenes, and the theme of the Hall of Fame is going to be the game day experience. What separates college football from NFL and high school football is that Saturday game day experience. I just mentioned that. You all go back to Athens and think about what happens to you on a Saturday. You walk back on that campus. There's different smells. There's different sounds. There's different looks. You know, you hear the band. You got the dog walk. You got the tailgating. So all those things we're going to encompass in the new College Football Hall of Fame. So lastly, go Dogs, and we'll see you in September. And thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you. Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay, Gary says he's willing to take a couple of questions. We still have a few minutes, so remember this really is going to be on YouTube. So not only is this a large room, so it's hard to hear if you're at one end or the other, but we want to get your question recorded. So if you have a question, please raise your hand. We've got a couple people with microphones who will bring it over to you.
Gary, first of all, thank you for coming this morning.
You're welcome. Thank you.
There's been a lot of stories in the news, obviously for a while, about players being paid to come to universities. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole, but where I do have a question about is the O'Bannon lawsuit that's out there talking about using the likeness of student athletes after they graduate from universities. And obviously, even though you're a nonprofit, that would affect you and your business. Maybe you could comment on that?
No, it's a great question. What he's talking about is, you know, athletes, their jerseys are sold, obviously, with their names on the back in bookstores and, you know, athletic campuses around the country. Their likeness is used in EA Sports. And what he's talking about, Ed O'Bannon played at UCLA, 85, something like that. They won a national championship. And Ed, through his attorney, has said, wait a second. You know, EA Sports is selling millions of copies of NCAA basketball by using my name and my likeness. I haven't got paid a nickel for that. And I'm not a student athlete anymore, and they're still selling that. So he has placed a lawsuit that they're going to win. The NCAA has never won a lawsuit in their history, and they're not going to win this one. Now, what that's going to do, it's going to cause, you know, the next conversation, which you brought up, is a student athlete needs to be paid. And my take on that, having been in coaching in short time in athletic programs in college is you can't pay the basketball and football guys, which those are the main two revenue sports, right? You can't pay them because as soon as you pay them, the little girl that's a swimmer or the guy that's in rifle or whatever other non-revenue sport, so to speak, they're going to place a lawsuit because they're going to say, wait a second, I'm a scholarship athlete as well. Why aren't you paying me? And athletic programs don't have that kind of money. So I don't think you'll ever get to a point where athletes will get paid. I do think the O'Bannon lawsuit will be won. And Sam Keller, a quarterback at Arizona State, has also filed a lawsuit on the football side. And he's going to win that. So Mark Emmert, who's a friend at the NCAA, he's got a real challenging job of how they're going to get through that dilemma. But I don't think there's any way you can pay the athletes. I personally think that potentially in, sometime down the road, I can't put a time schedule on it, you may have super conferences develop where you have, the top, whatever number you want to put to it, form super conferences and something else happens there. I think that's coming down the road, just an evolution. Does that answer your question?
How did the song?
I can hear you.
How did
I'll repeat it for everybody.
How did the money and the capital come together for the Football Hall of Fame?
He asked how the money and the capital came together for the College Football Hall of Fame. Well, I'm going to pass a basket here. Partly, that's no. We have worked with a public-private partnership. So Governor Perdue, Georgia guy, told me that when I first met with him about this project, I told him, I said, the mayor of Dallas stood at a press conference with T. Boone Pickens, Jerry Jones, Roger Staubach, Troy Aikman, and Emmett Smith in Dallas, and said, we are going to bring the College Football Hall of Fame here. Excuse me. Little did he know I had an exclusive with the National Football Foundation, and we got it without going to a bid, which saved us money probably. But we went to the governor, and the governor said that he would legislate GO bonds in his bond package. The Mayor Franklin at the time said that she would give money through the Economic Development Fund. I, first off, before I even did that, went to my bowl board of trustees and said, if we're going to sell this, manage it, operate it, we've got to be the first skin in the game. It's important. So we took $5 million. Here we are, a nonprofit. We took $5 million out of our reserve, and we were the first money in the game. Then went to see Truett Cathy. God bless Truett. He sat there, and I always remember it, on the top of an Orlando hotel. I think it was the Marriott World Center. They were having their national meeting. And Steve Robinson, who's the CMO, and on my board of the hall and the bowl, he and I went to Dan and Truett and Bubba and sat there, and we went into the room, and they put Truett's heart doctor right next to me. And I said, why is he sitting next to me? And Steve started laughing. But I made a presentation to Truett, and Truett, I still remember, he said, money's only good if it's spent on the right things. We're headquartered in Atlanta. This seems to be the right thing to do. We should give back to the city, so we're in. So they donated $6 million. Then Dan Cathy and I went to see Muhtar Kent at Coca-Cola, and they put in $8 million, $2.5 million in cash, and $5.5 million in marketing assets that'll help our perform on an annual basis. And we've got other ones down the road. We haven't raised all the money yet. We're still in the process of raising the money. It's kind of parallel movements here. But, we hope to open debt-free. That's the goal. Because as a nonprofit to self-sustain yourself, that'd be the best way to go. But we're willing to take on debt and some mortgage. Our performance shows that with 500,000 people, if we did open debt-free, we'd throw off $2 million a year in reserves, which is pretty powerful. So we've got to drive to get this thing open debt-free. That's the real key in my mind. You don't like to chase debt. So.
Okay, one more question.
Can you tell us more about, or tell us about your thoughts on the NASCAR Hall of Fame in Charlotte and their experience thus far, please?
Yeah, NASCAR, we had Tony Hobson. I don't know if you know Tony. Tony's been in advertising for years here in Atlanta. Great guy, really creative. He came up with the idea, And he said, you know, NASCAR doesn't have a Hall of Fame. Why don't we build a NASCAR Hall of Fame in Atlanta? This is 5, 6 years ago. And I had already had the College Football Hall of Fame ready to come. And I pulled the College Football Hall of Fame off the table because NASCAR went, Tony went to NASCAR, and NASCAR said, yeah, that's a good idea. We're going to bid this out. And so they bid it out, and ultimately it was Daytona, Richmond, Atlanta, and Charlotte. They were in the bid process. So I pulled College Football Hall of Fame off the table because I didn't want those other cities saying, they don't want you, they're going to build the College Football Hall of Fame. So I went quiet on college football. We went through the process of the NASCAR bid. Charlotte had bid 800,000 people a year in their bid to NASCAR. Remember, they're in a bid process. We weren't in a bid process ultimately with College Football Hall of Fame. And so they built a pro forma at 800,000. They structured a building for 800,000 a year attendance. Well, they got it. They didn't vet their numbers. I don't know how they did it, but 800,000, is way too high for Charlotte and for NASCAR. If Charlotte can do 800,000 for NASCAR, we'll do 1.5 million with college football in Atlanta. So, because just where we're at, we got 8 million people on an annual basis walking around, Centennial Olympic Park, the Congress Center, Phillips Arena, the Dome, Centennial Olympic Park, the Aquarium, the World of Coke. So they built their pro forma at 800,000, which was a mistake. They built the building too big. It's a beautiful. I don't know if has anybody been? It's a beautiful facility. If you get to Charlotte, you should go. It's a wonderful experience, but their pro forma was wrong. They built it too big. They spent too much money. They spent like $110 million, I think it was. And so, it's Charlotte, North Carolina, which is a great city, don't get me wrong, but, they're probably going to do 250, 300,000, which is probably what they should have built their pro forma on, built the facility on. And Winston Kelly, he's an NC State guy. He's a great guy. He's done a wonderful job, and I feel bad for him because they just were wrong on the front side in their business model. And that's where we're very conservative in all of our numbers, and that's going to hold us in good stead, I think, in the long run. So this guy's been very aggressive. I know. That was it. Okay. I'm sorry. I know he wanted to ask something. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Gary, thank you. Gary, thanks very much for that presentation and answering those questions. On behalf of our alumni, I'd like to present you with this glass sculpture from local artist Loretta Eby.
Excellent. I need some art in my life. That's beautiful.
Red and black, too. So
there you go. My daughter will be jealous.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Gary.